Rod?
I'm a Sun Devil, man!
The 27-yard line. That's a great call. Play fake. Plummer will put it up. Throws over the middle. Poole, touchdown. Quick flag.
3rd down and 5. Levis swings it to Scatterboom. Scatterboom breaks defenders. Here he goes again. Scatterboom is the running back, and he is immediately met in the backfield, runs through the contact, and then throws a shoulder for good measure. Revenge on this team this year. That is true. High in the air. Right center field. Brandon comes in. Welcome to 2025.
Edwards pulls off and buries it. Richardson drives out for Robbie Ryan. Hurt 3 right on the money.
Takes his shot for Derby. Flag out. Doesn't matter. Touchdown.
What is up, my peeps? Happy August 26th to all. Yes, you are not you're not seeing a rerun from last season or anything, or a special edition. This is season 3 of Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, welcome in. I am Michael Carrasino, as you know, at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter. Yes, I know you guys know that, so don't forget to go there, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. Yes, at Diablo00 on X, artist known as the Twitter, as you guys know. You can see it on my IG, michael.carasino.5. Yes, Facebook as well. Yes, don't forget about that. And it is under construction, the Casual Sports Radio Network. Yes, a lot of you remember we were on the wonderful KSRN last season. So, yeah, the we are on the good old IG as well, too, michael.caratino.5. Yes, you guys know. But, man, what an exciting summer, right? I mean, we are back in the saddle with Sun Devil Sports. Guys, today I have a phenomenal, again, we'll talk because volleyball started up. They had their maroon and gold scrimmage. They also had an exhibition against UNLV down in Lake Havasu. So, yes, we have that. Soccer, Coach Winkworth and the ladies are underway and looking good. And, man, we told you, he said, I played that last year for your sound, so the team would look different. Talked about it. They look a little different. Yes, they do. But very good. And volleyball as well. And the reigning Big 12 champs will in volleyball. They're back on the court, like I said. And, of course, the reigning Big 12 champs in football. The Sun Devils, obviously, up at Camp T, all that good stuff. They They had a hell of a a hell of a camp. Today was the first day of game prep of prep week. Obviously, NAU Saturday at Mountain America Stadium, back in the saddle, and it is supposed to be rocking. I'm gonna have later in the week. You're gonna see what's new at Sun Devil Stadium. Obviously, trinkets and athletic director Graham Rossini against such. I mean, it is nonstop. It is go, go, go. I mean, actually sitting down and getting to watch the games, go to games is, a little bit of a break for him, I'm guessing. But, and not that he's looking for a break, my friends, we all know this, but Graham's done a phenomenal job. So we'll see what's new at Sun Devil Stadium or Mountain America Stadium. Obviously, a lot of awesome food options, all this great stuff at Mountain America Stadium for you guys. So yes, we'll have that later in the week. We'll hear from that group there. Also, we'll hear from. I sat down with Coach Cooper. We did our wonderful Camp T sit down, which has been it's a 2-year tradition now. So gotta love it. And then, we'll hear from, just different players, obviously, as we get ready for the week. And then volleyball-wise, we'll hear from Coach Van Neal after the scrimmage later this week. They get set to take on Northern Iowa on the road. And then they have the huge matchup, which I talked about at the end of last spring. They have the huge matchup, those volleyball against, both Pitt and Penn State as they travel on the road to take that. Because, again, Coach Van Neal never going to shy away from playing anybody. That a little bit more of a physical, looking like a physical. Not that last year's team wasn't physical, but just a little bit different pace of play. We're going to get into that. Obviously, a few transfers, very exciting. Speaking of a few transfers, obviously, football brought a few in, but in the transfer portal, quite a few freshmen into, and the transfer portal guys looking very good. We met some of them last spring. When they came in, had it on a show here for you. But you talk about depth and returners. Yeah, it's exciting for the reigning Big 12 champs. So again, I'm so stoked to get to all of this with you, because again, we're just going to have so many awesome guests, and we're starting it off today, guys. This is so awesome because. So I mean, we have a phenomenal guest. He has been here for a few minutes, and man, the stories get to catch up with him very shortly. The Senior Associate Athletic Director, Media Relations, Doug Tammaro. Again, just what he's seen here at ASU, his journey to get here, his journey that brought him here, and where he was before, and it's just, but all his stuff involvement, especially with the Tillman Foundation. Very, very excited for that, and we'll get to we'll talk to him about that. So yes, my friends, Doug Tammaro. Finally got him on the show, and I say finally, not from finally that I should have made it happen. I should have efforted it much earlier, but again, much as busy schedule, we get to sit down and do this. So so stoked. That thing what he's seen here, and obviously now he's got he's an empty nester now as his youngest. Just went off to college at the Colorado School of Mines. She's going to be playing softball there. And if you've ever seen Doug Tammaro on Twitter, if you're not following him, you should follow him. Great follow. But yes, both his kids, phenomenal softball players and their swings. He won't take too much. He probably won't take too much credit for it, but help him with those swings. So we get to catch up with Doug, which is just again, I'm so stoked because he has been such an integral part of media relations. I mean, since I've been in school here, and since I was in school at ASU. So yeah, just again, we're gonna do that very shortly. But yeah, so stoked again, looking forward to it. And he again, just an award winner, a legend. I mean, he's been honored for the work he's done. We'll talk about that. But man, so stoked that he actually took the time to come on Pitchfork Lunch. And I know I talk with a little old alumni me, right? But yes, so that is coming up. But yeah, like I said, football, obviously game week. Soccer came off a win yesterday. I'll get to that. We'll do a little recap at the end because, again, got to get to this interview. But yeah, a little recap at the end. We'll talk about soccer is done because right now, my friends, I will tell you actually that soccer is 2-0-1. They beat Nevada back on August 14th. I posted a lot. You guys saw that. They beat them 2-0. And then they went to Texas, and they got a 1-1 draw in Austin. Again, solid game there. I'll get to the recap at the end. And then they took on Texas State, and they won 5-1 over Texas State, both on the road on Sunday. And, yeah, I think one of those games there was a goal scored very early in the game for the Devils. I want to say it was the Texas game, ended up being a draw, 1-1 draw, like I said. But nonetheless, so that's where Coach Winkworth, again, look forward to catching up with him now that the season has started. Definitely look forward to catching up with Coach Winkworth. And again, coaches, players, we're going to bring it to you here, working on a few more things as well. So again, we'll just, we're keeping it rolling here on Pitchfork One. So absolute forks up to that, my friends. You guys know this. Forks up to that. But yes, we're going to step aside. Got to step aside. Got to get ready for him. So when we get back, though, guys, Doug Tammaro will be here on Pitchfork Lunch with me. So again, don't be bashful. Don't go too far. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, Mr. Tammaro will be joining us here on Pitchfork Lunch. Welcome back, my Pitchfork Lunchers. Look, season 3, and I promised it. I know I talked about it last year, but unfortunately, some people are more important and busy than other people that just have one show to do and cover this phenomenal alum university of mine. But Doug Tammaro joining us, the Senior Associate Athletic Director. And you've been here for a minute. I mean, it's been a few minutes, 1993. Like Coach Powers actually called me and him old, but I just called us knowledgeable and seasoned. Experienced. Yeah, exactly. Man, 1993. I mean, you have seen obviously a lot of great things here, but I mean, coming all the way from the good old state of PA, which has our favorite beer in Yuengling. Just saying, if anybody wants to send gifts. But I mean, coming out from Pennsylvania. Okay, we'll go forward and back a little bit, but coming here to Arizona, which I mean, obviously a lot of people from the East Coast do, me being from Jersey, like I've told you before, Doug. But I mean, just coming out here, getting to be at Arizona State. What was this the first few weeks like?
So I grew up in Pittsburgh and went to school in Cleveland. Worked 1 year at Notre Dame, 1 year at Cincinnati, or 1 year at Cincinnati, then Notre Dame. So I actually came out here from South Bend. Actually took a baseball trip out here with Pat Murphy's team from Notre Dame. Came out here and then fell in love with the place, and then go back to the office and found out there was a job opening. So 3 months later, I was out here working full time for Mark. So the place has been good to me. Year 33 loading. Seen a lot. My first year was Jake Plummer's freshman year, and my second year was Pat Tillman's freshman year. I've had a lot of things I've been able to see, and still looking forward to seeing some more things too.
Yeah, I mean that's okay. So let's rewind, because obviously you got to come out here. You hear there's a job open, but I mean, for a lot of people, collegiate history. You're at Notre Dame. I mean, I know it was just a year, but that had to be kind of pretty tough to leave.
Yeah, my dad actually was probably mad at me because he's a big Notre Dame fan back in Pittsburgh. But they had offered me a solid job to stay after the intern, but this job was a little better. Mark Brand put some faith in me back then, and Roger Baldessari and John Heisler, both in Notre Dame, put in a couple calls and said, "Trust this guy." And it was an easy choice to come out because the job was a little bit better.
Right.
But leaving Notre Dame was, for a kid that grew up in Western Pennsylvania, the Midwest, leaving Notre Dame was a little hard.
Okay, so the very first, the hot weather, the summer hits. Before we get to the awesome stuff, like you mentioned some phenomenal people right there, obviously. But that first summer, just coming out here, you got to think like it can't. I mean, I guess it can't get worse. But how did you adapt?
Well, the first thing I did is about my second day on the job, I left my sunglasses on the dashboard, and they melted and they looked like a ball of electrical tape by the end of the day. So I learned real fast you had to get a cover for your window. It was a fun transition. Paul Kirk, who's now the senior associate AD at Utah, is one of my best friends. And I was the assistant. He was GA. We lived together. Just some really good times working for Mark. Coach Frieder was absolutely phenomenal. Coach Snyder was awesome. And like I said, that was a time where I got to work with some great dudes like Juan Roque and Jake Plummer. And kind of got the ball started. Times were different then. You got a class and guys kind of came through together 4 years. Doesn't happen as much now, which is why I have real appreciation for the people that I call them door-to-door devils.
Right.
It was a good early times, and I adjusted to the heat pretty well. You don't have to scrape 110 off your windshield.
Exactly. You don't have to shovel sunlight like my dad always used to say. Juan Roque, I got to ask you this: did you feel like a 12-year-old the first time you sit next to him too?
He's so big, and he's just so awesome. Juan used to sit in my office the '96 Rose Bowl season, and he was an All-American.
Oh, yeah.
But people would call and want to talk to Jake. They just maybe couldn't talk to Jake, and they would say, "Can you give me some other guys on the phone?" Well, Juan had already graduated, so he was kind of taking a little bit of a class. There were no online classes, so he had a couple classes. But Juan would sit in my office, and somebody would call and want to talk to a player, and I would be able to just get him on the phone. But I always told the people I'd call him back, and Juan would say, "Why do you do that?" And I'd say, "Well, I have to make it look like I'm working hard and trying to hunt you down." There were no cell phones back then, so if Juan left, I was whatever. So yeah, those are good times.
All right, so you mentioned Jake, but Pat Tillman and my Pitchfork Lunchers, I told the story a million times. He was actually friends with the girl that I lived in PV East with. I mean, we were obviously a little bit younger, but from the time I met him, always engaging, always, talking to him. He's like, "Oh, so I hear you want to walk on." I go, "Yeah, it might be pipe dreams." I said, "But still running track." I go, "I'm going to try it in the fall. It works. It doesn't. But always engaging." And fast forward to after Parents Weekend, the next we're getting pizza and he's behind us and he just I'm his best friend, like gives me crap. Like my parents are right there. It's like, what, you can't introduce me?
Right.
Introduce himself to my parent. They're just,
Yeah.
Dad's just sitting there talking to him. But I mean, throughout the years, I've seen you talk a lot. I mean, Pat's run obviously became a huge thing, but when just your first, like you said, I mean, he came in a year later, but just being around him. And I know he always famously told the story that like when they recruited him, they wanted to redshirt him. He's like, do whatever the hell you want.
I'm gone.
I'm out. But I mean, what was it like? I mean, when you first met him, and I mean, for athletes, obviously, different mindset for a lot of athletes, but just what was it about him when you got around him that just it made him tick? And I mean, like I said, always engaging and just that dude.
He well, the first thing is when I first saw him, I thought, who's this long hair guy? Because he had the long hair at the time. He was very engaging. Back then, you did get to know the players probably a little bit more than you now because, like I said, they had to come in your office. I just noticed he was a good leader. People rallied around them. I tell the story of Jill DeMichael was a study hall director, and one time he was kind of goofing around study hall his freshman year, and she told him, Pat, I need you to get your act together. And he said, oh, I don't need to be here because he had a 4.0. And she said, those guys need you to be here. And she pointed to the other people in the room and said, I need you to be a leader. And she said, from that point on, he was done. He was efficient. He was focused. He never goofed around in study hall. But he didn't have to go back because he got a 4.0 his first semester. But I think the good thing about Pat was he was as good of a follower. He was as good of a teammate as he was a leader. And I don't think enough gets said of that. It's been pretty awesome to see the way the community's rallied around the event. I can't think of a better person to rally around.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, doing obviously the news a day. Let me ask you this. I mean, and you knew him a lot. Obviously, his family knew him, but people see, man, he left the contract. I mean, it's crazy to do that. But when he had made that decision, I mean, I guess you weren't shocked, but was it maybe a teeny bit a little surprised?
I wasn't shocked at all. It all made sense. I remember Paul Jensen called me, the Cardinals PR director at the time, and he said, "Hey, they said something. Our boy has made a decision." And I kind of thought he would say he's going to sign with another team. He said the Rangers, and there's that moment of like, wait, what? Like baseball? Wait, what's this? He's like Army Rangers, and it just completely made sense.
Right.
I always say you can't go enter the Army at age 50 or 40. You got to do it at that time.
Right.
Probably the craziest thing for me is I was on a Tillman Foundation leadership scholarship deal where you find the Tillman scholars, and I've talked to thousands of people about Pat through the foundation and the amount of people that signed up for the military because of Pat Tillman, both at that time, later, now. It's pretty powerful how much his life resonated with so many people and continues to resonate.
Right. Because you talk about the memories, and you mentioned Jake Plummer. I mean, that year, obviously, the Heisman run. I mean, I remember being in the stands and just obviously the broadcast manager, but geeking out, just like that. I mean, always the energy. And like you said, we know how this place can get. But I mean, Jake Plummer and, offense, defense, but the brotherhood and the times I've been lucky enough to interview Jake, when he talks about Pat, just like you, it seems like just like yesterday. And to me, that's the most important thing because the memories, they're there, they're vivid. And I mean, it is unfortunate because he's gone. But like you said, I mean, the foundation, you guys have done such a phenomenal job of honoring his spirit. And I think it's almost 30 million now in scholarship dollars.
It's an unbelievable amount of money. It's going to really the people that really doing great things. Every once in a while I run into a Tillman scholar, just, they come out for the run and when you say, they're just, figure out ways to make water better. I mean, it's, what we have one that's really wild right now is there's an astronaut. There's a guy in space that's a Tillman scholar. Awesome. He's flying around the universe right now. So that's something it's been awesome to see.
I mean, okay, so relationships. I mean, with players, it's one, like you said. I mean, now transfer portal's a little tougher. But as being in sports information, and obviously when coaches always say that famous line, we're hired to get fired. But from your side of the point, I mean, you develop relationships. I mean, you talk about a guy like Bill Frieder. Obviously, I mean, I was here when I came here. I mean, Coach Evans was here, and I got to know him through McLeod and talking to him. But how challenging is that? I mean, you understand the job, but not that you're not going to obviously be excited for the new coach or like him, but I mean, there's relationship. How tough is that when the coaches are dismissed?
It's really the toughest. Some of the toughest days since I've been here are days when your friends get fired, and most of the time you agree with it. It's time for a change. Right. Most of the time they're going to be better off in a week. They don't know it. Right. But it is hard, and I always think when someone gets let go that we could have done something better. I every coach has been fired here. I sit there and go, I know what we could have done better with this coach. I know we could have done better with that coach. And they, obviously winning's the end of the deal. You don't sell tickets for graduation, and there's no scoreboard at commencement. So they're hired to do something, and that's win. They're also hired to do a lot of other things, and it's hard to balance it all. But I'm really proud of the relationships I've had with our past coaches. I try to stay in touch with them. I let them know how much we appreciate them. And, when it's important for me, for our current staff members of each sport to understand who came before them and maybe why they failed. Because maybe that'll help them out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and I always think about, because, for me, it's one thing. It's like, I like that coach, or, they were standoffish. And that's one thing, and that's a conversation for another time, because I always kid around about it here. Media voting for Hall of Fames. And just because they didn't like somebody, they have to wait. It's like, I get it. Everybody's got different personalities. Okay, so relationships. I mean, you obviously throughout the years, you've got to talk to some awesome broadcasters, even, some small-time ones. They called some of his daughter's games. We'll get to that. But I mean, obviously Bill Walton passed, and I know you guys are coming. Just great conversation. Everybody always talks about, Bill Walton this, and like I said, the few times I got to meet him and talk to him, it's when you meet those people, it's like, and not just because he's finally on the show, but sitting next to you, it's like a knowledge of wealth. I mean, like people you say about Madden, that guy knows more in his pinky about football than most of anybody will ever know. But conversations with Bill Walton. I mean, the funny thing, I know the first time when the Final Four was here, he gave out his number on the radio.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was the people called it, but. Well, I mean, I'll never be crazy enough to obviously ask for the best, but what are just some of those interactions like with Bill Walton?
I think one of the greatest Bill Walton stories I got was when he called. It was the night Washington was playing Alabama in the championship game of second quarter, third quarter, whatever.
Yeah.
Really good game.
Yeah.
And we played them in another 2 weeks in basketball, and he wanted to check in, and he wanted to get in touch with Connor, and he was just checking to see who he talks to, and he called me and I answered the phone. He said, your phone says Bill Walton, so. Hey, Bill, how you doing? And he's like, Doug, Bill Walton, how are you? And I said, good. And he says, you're not watching this terrible football game, are you? And, I kind of had to lie because I was. But it wasn't a terrible football game. It was a national championship game. Probably the neatest thing about Bill is that I've always appreciated. There was no one more appreciative or kinder or nicer that I dealt with than Bill Walton. And I don't mean celebrity, just like some people say, he's so famous, he's awesome. But Bill's just, he was great to everybody, and no matter he didn't see himself. He just was a wonderful human. He always managed to tell my boss, or even Michael Crow, that I did a good job. I mean, him and Michael were very close. And I don't know, we lost a lot when Bill left. It just the planet lost such a good person, such a kind person. But I still got some old voicemails from him. Still got some old emails that he had sent that just were absolutely wonderful. And one time he forgot my one daughter's name. He was running through my family, and he always told me, "I'm so sorry, I forgot Michaela's name." And I was like, "Bill, we got to move on. Don't worry about it. We're good." But yeah, he was a wonderful human.
Oh, I mean, again, the way he always described things, and people say, "Oh, he goes this and that." I mean, and from calling again, just sitting next to, a few times I got lucky, and him working with Dave Pash knowing, when to ignore him, or have you been here? I mean, but still his knowledge of the game. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's a caricature." I go, "No," guys, just listen to him.
Yeah, he's good.
Here it was awesome. And I mean, that's the picture when you won the Hertha Award. Again, award winner here. And I know he doesn't like to talk about it because it is. In your department's a team effort, but Cosida, the Hertha Award. I mean, there's a lot of people that understand what you do. And like I've told you guys, the best witty answers when you're dumb enough to send an email where you actually answered the question that you're sending him. But anyway,
I will reply at 72 point.
Exactly.
If the answer was already in the
I didn't get 72 point. I got because I asked, and I told a story on here, and I'm like, when you're parking passes, which is great, easy to deal with. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to put you in the Packard garage, and I was just in such a rush. I go, where's the Packard garage? And I hit send, and there's no way to then there was no way to just delete the send right away. And within 5 minutes, millions of emails, he saw that. He goes, funny enough, it's on Packard Drive, Mike. And I'm like, I just had nothing. I'm like, I'm in it. But I always, again, you have to have the wit in the comedy, I guess, in the industry. But talking about that, when you look at, working with, obviously local media, national media, but getting these awards, getting honored, and it's like, you're doing your job. And people always say, if you love what you're doing, you truly never work a day in your life. Yeah, there might be stressful times, but when you're getting recognized like that and working with the people you mentioned, then a lot have received those awards as well. I mean, what does it mean to you? I mean, do you actually like give yourself a second to sit back and like, smell the wine, I guess?
No, it's been good, and I really appreciate those. I have a really good staff. Jeremy Hawks, Connor Smith. Connor's been doing this 13 years because he started in high school. Jeremy's, arguably, the best hire we ever made because he came here from Tucson and had a really good experience with Tom Duddleston in Arizona. Both those guys are just, they're workhorses. They kind of keep it going. We have a good team. I wish there was more I could do for them every day because they're so good. And then I take a lot of pride in what we have as a staff because we have a good bunch of people that, we don't have a lot, compared to other schools. And I'll say that flat out. But we work well together. I think we all feed off each other. We know our strengths. We know our weaknesses. So that's been, if I'm getting honored, it's a lot of it's them. And then Mark Brandt hired me, and I learned, I learned so much from Mark. I've had a Hall of Fame career for other people. Roger Baldessari at Notre Dame, John Heisler at Notre Dame, John Bianco at Texas, and I went to college together. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and I blame him for getting me into this business. And then, coming out here and working for Mark, Tom Hathaway at Cincinnati was great for me at that time. So, I've had a lot of good people I can learn from.
And and when we talked about this, obviously towards the end of last season graduation, and I'm like, people were messaging like, "Hey man, where's the man?" I go, "Look, it all happened organically. I'm going to get them, but those names you list, I listed some, and I'm like,
yeah,
that is." I go, guys, that is just, I go, and it's dealing with. I go, everybody says, "Oh, media wants this," everybody wants this, and they got 1 million people. Like when they're winning, they got 1 million people grabbing at them, and I always. At the joke, because I cover the JUCOs for years, and there's talent there. But at the same time, like nobody's coming out giving them attention unless there's something insane going on. Like speaking of softball, like Heinz Mueller over at Phoenix College, over 1,000 wins.
Right.
I mean, sending players on. But like you said, when you work with the staff like that, you mentioned Mark Brandt, so I can't ask for one. What are your top 3 favorite Marcus? Because he would say some funny stuff and just kind of zing him in there.
I'm trying to think what they are right now off the top of my head. He always had a good zinger or two. Mark, when it's his birthday, I always tweet out now the photo of him between Brandon Ayuk and Jaden Daniels because I know Mark hates that when I tweet that photo, which is why I send it to everybody after I tweet it. Tell Mark happy birthday. I think the thing I learned the most about Mark is anybody can be there when you win. Mark took a lot of pride and was so good about being around coaches when they're at their toughest moments. Yep. He didn't shy away from going to see a coach at their worst time. At one point, we had a coach here that had lost some games, and I mentioned to another administrator that I had talked to this coach.
Right.
What coaches need right now.
Right.
That's when you need to talk to them because
right.
Everybody loves you when you win,
Yeah. And
everybody wants to be around you.
Yeah.
But so I think it's just a lot of pride. And, it's not just, hey, I'm here, you lost. It's, is there anything I can do to help you through the day? So it's just that part's probably where you learn the most in the toughest moments.
Right. Yeah.
The point shaving scandal in 93, 94 was my first year. But it was really cool for me to have lunch last year with Headache Smith, who's turned his life around and learned a lesson in a terrible way, but is now speaking on gambling and athletics.
Right.
So you don't want tough times, but when they're there, it's your chance to probably learn the most, and people learn the most from you.
Well, that's a great segue. And that was one of my. Again, it was the Netflix thing, and that Bad Sport and all the series. I'm like, oh, the ASO. I'm like, oh, that's because I was in high school. I remember telling Kent Summers like same thing. I'm not trying to make you feel old, but my friend would pick me up and we would sprint to Circle K every morning to get the paper because I'm like, this is not true. I'm like, this is me. But I'm like, Kent Summers. I'm like, what is going on? And then to see that special, and again, like Headache Smith. Okay, so let me ask you about that because again, when they're and every university's had them, and again from the coaches, people talking about the coaches, but from a department standpoint, and again, not being all negative, but how challenging is that to deal with?
That was challenging. It was a different era. I mean, there was no internet.
Right.
So it's just a different era. You just try to slow everything down. That was the crazy thing about that is it came up and it left after 3 months.
Yep.
And then it came back 8 years later, or 4 years later. So yeah, that was a hard time, but it kind of disappeared for 3 years, and then it came back, and able to put ourselves behind it, put it behind us, which is good.
And then you mentioned Bill Frieder. I mean, again, 'cause I knew you're around him. I got to ask about that. What I mean, as a coach, obviously, people get. I mean, just a basketball guy. But I mean, would say funny. People are like, oh, is he just being? But I mean, that was just his personality. What are some of the funnier things you remember from Frieder?
I just remember Freeze. We played New Mexico at a midnight game, one of those ESPN crazy midnight games. And we had a 6 a.m. flight next day because he was like, we're not going to sleep in. We're just going to get home. And Freeze called me up at like 2 a.m. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, finishing up my stuff and going to bed. He goes, oh, I'll stop down. So he comes down to my hotel room and he just sits in the chair and we start talking about everything. And he's trying to change the channel on my TV. And finally, he just throws the object at the TV. And he said, why does this effing thing work? And I said, well, it's because it's my calculator. He thought it was remote control. He was just a ball of fun. There was no cell phones when Bill was the coach, so he would literally call my apartment at 2 or 3 in the morning, and it wasn't for to yell at me or get mad. He'd say, hey, what are you doing? I just want to talk. And then for one time he said, all right, well, you've bothered me enough. I got to go. And I was like, well, he called me. He's a wonderful character. He's a really good guy. Him and Jan, his wife, and I became really close. The first time I went on a road trip, Bill called me and said, you're Italian, right? I said, yeah. He said, you want to go to dinner? I said, yeah. He said, well, money you and my wife go out to eat because I don't got time for it. So and he was watching film and she wanted to go out to eat, so I took Jan to eat, and we've been good friends ever since.
That's all. I mean, Italian food anywhere.
I'm
not a big fan. Obviously, a big fan. What? Okay, so this would be like asking your favorite child. You've mentioned some phenomenal athletes, but I mean, in basketball, being around, someone like an Eddie House and Diagu, James Hart. So I'm not going to say who's your favorite kid to player, but I mean, just like being around guys like that and the coach, like what were they like? I mean, they get here as freshmen. I mean, they're probably kind of wide-eyed, even in any generation. But at the same time, like, I mean, working with, somebody like Eddie House, who scores at will. And then, I mean, you get a guy like Ike Diagu, James Harden. I mean, those personalities.
It's been awesome. I tell you what, people ask me who's your favorite. I said, I have a strange way of deciding my favorite. I mean, Eddie's senior year was one of my favorite times. Yeah. Like to just be around that. When we walked into the building, people were there to see Eddie House. A lot like Cam Scatabo towards the end of last year. And the guy scored 61. But what people don't realize is he had 2 40-point games before that. Yeah. And when he scored 61, that was so much fun. But my personal, door-to-door Sun Devil, just across taking everything into account, has always been Jeff Pendergraft. Jeff came in as a freshman. He got hurt. We had a coaching change. He didn't transfer. He stuck with it. He was on a team that won, 8 games. He was on a team that won 25 games. And when James Harden arrived for his senior year, Jeff didn't flinch, let James get the publicity. We lost 15 straight Pac-10 games in 2006-07. And Jeff did every post-game interview and gave great answers and said, we're going to get better and whatever. So just to see him then carve out a career overseas and in the NBA, become an NBA champion. Then he's going in our Hall of Fame this year. Door to door. I mean, Jake and I are really good friends, and Jake's career was the same stuff. But at the time when Jeff was playing basketball, I was so involved with basketball, and I just always enjoyed being around him.
And obviously, I know when talk to the coaches, it's rewarding. You always talk about new coaches getting hired and getting the alumni involved. And I mean, for years, Jake has been involved. Like James Harden, I mean, coming back, doesn't have to publicize it. But from your standpoint, I mean, it's got to be rewarding. You got to love seeing that the alum, any sport, just taking the interest in coming back and now celebrating, which we'll get to the electricity here on campus.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. The last 2 days, Jeremy Stott was on campus, and then today Zane Gonzalez. And I don't know if those guys stop by for 3 and 9. I don't know. I mean, they might, but not only is it they want to be here, but we want them here, and then our staff embraces it. People like DJ Foster, and then coach. I mean, Zane comes into practice today. It was cool for our kicker to meet Zane.
Absolutely.
You want to meet the GOATs at your position. So it's been a blast. Had lunch with Derek Glasser a couple weeks ago. Just being around him, his coaching career. He's at UCSB now, and he's doing great things. You know, when guys like that go into coaching, it's kind of cool. It means that they want to give back. They want to do this for a living. So that's been a lot of fun.
And you like to, you know, it's always fun to still get to hammer the triple single, right?
The triple single, yeah, that guy, Kyle Dodd. It's funny because some people actually think we don't like each other, but you know, he did so many post game interviews, and so to now see him do the interview, it's kind of cool because you know Kyle knows when to cut off an interview. He knows when a coach might not want to talk. You know, he's a fantastic dad. He's a great Sun Devil. He loves the Sun Devils. You know, he does struggle to put his hands in his pockets in the hotel bar, but that's for another day.
He said you might say that a while back. He's like, he always accuses. I was like, hey, I'm not getting in the middle. I just hear facts. That's all I hear, Kyle. Doug says facts. Speaking of family, I mean, we've talked to him. I mean, you're obviously your daughter's a softball. You put them up. Anybody knows your scene. And like I said, getting to call some of it. But I mean, come on, a little bit of credit. I mean, who taught them those phenomenal swings?
So, you know, they're both mom's done an unbelievable job. You know, kids kind of pick spots when they grow up, what sports you want to be in. And you know, they both pick softball, but the reason it's softball is because of the Pac. I think it had a lot to do with the Pac-12 network. You know, Dallas Escobedo is going in our Hall of Fame.
Yep.
She put us on the map for softball, and you know, Ariana was watching a little bit of that, and then Pac-12 network hit, and my kids were watching softball.
Yep.
And that's how they kind of got interested in it. We used to have DirecTV, but we switched to Cox when the Pac-12 network started. And my kids got involved in softball because of Clint Myers' teams.
Yep.
And then just the way they continued. And, you know, they're both, one already played in college, or one's going to get to play in college. But I always will have a soft spot in my heart for the Pac-12 network because that put college softball on TV every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at a time where you're looking for something to watch in the spring. So yeah, it's been fun.
And I mean, it was. Everybody wants to argue there's the greatest conference. There's not. I have on the show. I've put the paper up because I just Googled Women's College World Series champions, and you just see from the beginning until like the early 2000s, there's a Pac-12 school that won it, a Pac-12 school there, or two Pac-10 schools playing each other. So I say other conferences, I go, you have nothing to say. I'm just going to let it speak for itself. But I mean, you're obviously here. They get to come to, you know, sporting events, but obviously you're traveling a lot. But I mean, the insane. I mean, obviously Bill Frieder never slept, so he thought you never slept, and that was a good warm up because now with obviously when your daughters played. But I mean, just when they're out there and they're doing it. I mean, how much fun is that for you to actually sit back and relax?
It's great. You know, the game changer now in softball. Yep. Every once in a while it gets past it, not as much as it used to. But you know, do you want to do game changers? Like, no, I do that for a living.
Yes.
You know? It is cool to watch it. There's a little part of me, like when I'm watching the game, I'm like thinking about the broadcast. We can do the broadcast now, but it's cool to take a break from work to do that. It's gotten harder, you know, in the last few years. You know, for people that are in this business now with young kids, it's going to be harder and harder for them to do what I did.
Right.
I was able to break away a little bit more than most, but it's great. You know, I love my kids no matter whatever they did. But I do love the fact they play softball because I like the sport.
Absolutely. Even when I first, and I got to work with obviously people ex-players, so that helped my head. I mean, I always got it. I'm like, one of my friends actually, when I was here, Leslie, she played, and I went out, and when they were in the fall, and I 27 pitches, Doug, I foul tipped one. I made contact. I dropped the bat, said, I'm happy. I'm good. Again, always just love being around it. Let me ask you this. We'll wrap on this, but like, obviously this day and age, you know, people see NIL, the transfer portal thing came down. And like you said, getting to know athletes door to door, okay, it might be a little tougher. I know for coaches in recruiting, it's like, if you're recruiting me, you got to see that I want to be here. But and then back in an athlete's mind, it's hard for me not to think they're thinking, well, I mean, if it's not the right thing, I don't feel I'm going to work. But if not, you know, I'm jumping ship. But with NIL and the portal, I mean, how it's changed. How does that change things from a standpoint of you guys? Like, I mean, sports information, I get players coming in and out, that part, but just the challenges, I mean, easier, tougher for you guys.
Well, you have more bios to update now because you have to update more bios every year. I mean, let's just take any sport. If you have 20 kids and, you know, 18 of them return, then you're just updating some bios. So I mean, the basic thing is now, you know, we have football, 60. I mean, we have a lot of guys returning, but we have a lot of newcomers too. It's made it a lot harder to get the job done in various ways. I remember we used to say we turn over the rosters in August for all the sports except fall, and now Josh Fisher posted the softball roster. Like it's just changed. It's 367, 24/7, 365. I screwed that. 365, 24/7. You fall behind when you fall asleep. I mean, that's just the way it is. I've never woken up and not had 0 new emails.
Right.
So, but you just kind of adjust and try to lean into what you can, and realize you can't solve all the world's problems, every single day.
And I've said that on here too. I love the bottom of your email. We understand your work. You have family. Don't have to get back to us right away, but just realize it's here.
I feel bad because a lot of times, I'm up late or I'm up early, and I'll send somebody an email, and I don't know, like I don't expect you to get back to me as fast as you. I just do what you can. Just do the best you can.
Well, and okay, you got the shirt. I'd be remiss. It's obviously it's here, but favorite Camp T thoughts, memories, not like favorite one, but I mean, it's just so much history. It's always phenomenal to be up.
Yeah, I didn't go up for a few years because Mark was handling football, but my early years I was up there a lot. I just remember one time it stormed so bad we couldn't even walk back to Coles Ranch. It was so bad, and the scrimmage just ended and it finished. I think the time they carried Coach Cush off the field, that kind of resonated. There's some great photos and great video. When we decided to go back, I mean, Todd's great about that. Kenny going up. I just look out in that field and think, wow, there's some dudes that practiced here that, really made an impact at Arizona State. And, times have changed. You can't go there for 10 days. They're still going to summer school. You need better internet. So, I get why we didn't go, but, and you can't invest a lot of money in something you're only there for 4 days.
Exactly.
But, I love the fact that Kenny's making the most of it. And for 4 or 5 days, maybe they don't eat the best food. Maybe they don't sleep in the best bed, but they do develop some traditions.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that used to be when the team used to get together and they hadn't seen each other all summer. Well, now these guys I don't think people realize these guys are here all summer working out. Like,
thank you.
When we started practice, like you talk about like that's the first practice, and it's the first practice, but it's not anything new. Like these guys have been working together all summer. You see them working out on their own. So Tonazona kind of used to be the place where you gathered again. Well, now it's just another place, but it's a special place.
Yeah, my favorite is we went up there 1 year watch and Bruce Snyder and we were standing like on that side and we were back and somebody says something to me. I turned and all of a sudden a play comes over and Terry Battle comes like sliding in and got me. I was like, yeah, and I ended up. He's like, you okay? I'm like, I just think it's cool. I'm gonna in 50 years, I'm lying saying I lower my shoulder and drop you 10, and he started cracking up. But it was one of those things. But like the intimate, like that whole area, like phenomenal childhood memories you getting to go up, and especially when it's like 25 degrees cooler, and you're like, sure, we can't be up here for the whole month, but they wouldn't want to sleep in those bunks. Thank you again so much for doing this. Pitchfork Lunchers, again, the legend, the award winner, puts up with my dumb emails at times. Although at least I can laugh about it and make fun of it to you because. In the comments, it'll fill up like, you really sent that? You said that? I was like, where's Packer? It's like, I'm like, everybody has their dumb moments. I just was in a rush to get it back to. But again, thank you so much for taking the time. A lot more. And yes, basketball, this man said, and golf. They got to take you to Hawaii one of these years. I keep telling Connor
when I retire,
they need to take you and Connor to Hawaii.
Connor and I both.
I'm just saying because
that sounds good.
It is electric around here. This man is a huge part of it. So we're going to step aside and we shall have more Pitchfork Lunch coming right up, guys.
Audio Jungle.
Wow. Well, I told you it'd be fun. And again, we barely scratched the surface, so we're gonna have to make it it won't be an every week habit because, as you see, you know that man is busy. But again, big forks up, big shout out to Doug Tammaro for doing that and sitting down with me. Guys, just a wealth of knowledge there. I mean, talking about Tillman, talking about Frieder. I mean, you signed up with Camp T and then basketball, and just like I said, ever since I was here, I talked to him obviously more these last wow, it's going on 10 years, 10 years, 12 years. Yeah. Talked to him more then, but even when I was here, saw him around basketball and everything. And yeah, just again, absolutely awesome. So thank you, Mr. Doug Tammaro. You are the man. Greatly appreciate that, catching up with some of that. And yes, now there's a chance to have, more stories. We'll talk about Bill Frieder and this again, Coach Frieder and Todd Graham, a lot what he had to do with going back to Camp T and stuff like that. But just Tillman, Plummer, Ron Roque, and like I said, I asked him, is anybody that's ever stood next to Juan Roque? And when you first come to college, you're thinking, okay, yeah, I'm not the most ginormous person, but I'm not tiny. And I was in an elevator with Juan Roque, nice guy, and I was like, yep, I kind of feel like I'm in sixth grade, 11 or 12 again, because he was huge. Just again, awesome guy, and his back and forths with Kyle Dodd is always entertaining. Kyle Dodd, friend of the program. Look forward to getting him on closer we get to hoop season and stuff like that. But we're just starting. We're not trying to rush anything. But yeah, man, thank you so much, Doug Tammaro. You are a pitch in the Pitchfork Lunch family now. So again, forks up to you. Greatly appreciated for that. But yes, like I said, guys, we have soccer 2-0-1. So yeah, 2 wins, 1 draw, no losses, and they beat Nevada 2-0, and then they turned around and tied Texas 1-1, and Cam Valladares scored, and again, she transferred up here last year, but her speed on the outside and just you got to play within it. You can't just constantly send boom ball, and not that Coach Winkworth does that, but not that he would preach that. But yeah, she scored 41 seconds into the game. Sierra Bergen had the assist, and we're going to meet these players, these Sun Devils. There's quite a few new ones, but we're going to meet these Sun Devils. We're going to get on out to soccer this year, guys. A little more. I know we've had Coach Winkworth on. He's always been gracious, so very, very cool. So yes, but Texas, they went to Austin and a 1-1 draw, and like I said, 41 seconds into the game, Valladares just blasted a goal in, and they were able to tie the Longhorns. And then Texas State, they just cruised. It was a 5-1 victory in San Marcos. And again, Texas State not too far in San Marcos from Austin, so it made sense. They play a home game and then they bounce for 2, but they won 5-1. And again, 3 in the first half for the Devils, 2 in the second half. Texas State got their own goal in the first half. The crazy thing is Texas State scored first. That's what I forgot to tell you off the top of the show. They scored first at the 7:45 mark. And then Arizona State just obviously scored the next 5 to win. Sierra Bergen scored her first goal, and Valladares returned the favor because Bergen had assisted on her goal at Texas, and Grace Gillard as well. And then Ava Wright put in her first of the season, and followed by Addison Baltadano, who's a freshman, by the way. And then Sierra Bergen got her second of the season, assisted again by Valladares and Izzy Monick. And then Tatum Thomason put in her first goal of the season at the 62:08 mark, and Adriel Mibe assisted on it. So that, my friends, is the 5 goals. So they are 2-0-1, and yeah, looking pretty good, guys. But it is early. Again, got to get to Big 12 play, and that was, again, they battled in that last year, and that was tough. But this Thursday, they are taking on UNLV. Oh, it's on the road. I was like, wait, why is it? I'm like, that's not called the that's not the Johan Memorial Field in Las Vegas. No, yeah, they are at UNLV, and then they come home and they take on New Mexico State on Sunday, the 31st. So right after the football game Saturday night, you can go check out Graham Winkworth and this phenomenal women's soccer team. So, and then for volleyball, real quick, my friends, before we get out of here, I know the first show, so stoked. Like I said, they had their maroon and gold scrimmage, which maroon team won 3-2, or gold won 3-2. Gold won 3-2. And then they just took on UNLV in the exhibition, but they go to Northern Iowa. They take them on Friday. And then they head over to Pennsylvania after that, because Sunday they take on number 2. Well, I know preseason rankings, so I'm not going to get into it. ACC number 11 in football. I'll talk more about that tomorrow as the week goes on. We hear from players and stuff like that. Coach Cooper, we'll hear from Coach Cooper tomorrow with my awesome sit down with Coach Cooper as we get set and roll into games. But yes, so Northern Iowa, Friday the 29th, and then Sunday they take on at 2 p.m. and that's going to be on Fox. They take on number 2 Penn State, and then on Monday, on Labor Day, on FS1 at 4:30 local time, 2 o'clock Sunday, 4:30 local time on Fox Sports 1. They will take on number 3 Pitt. So early season test. We'll hear from Coach Van Neal too. I talked to him again. We'll get it in before these games and all this good stuff. So again, so very stoked for volleyball season. Coach Van Neal, this team, guys, you know this. Yeah, they good. So yeah, that is that. And volleyball, again, they're getting it rolling. Soccer 2-0-1. Oh, by the way, congrats to triathlon, because they will be hosting the national championship in November, in which they have won a ton of. That school down south won last year, but the Devils finished second. We'll get more into that. Yeah. So, but hey, it was an awesome summer. Again, obviously football. I ran into Coach Party, as you guys know, the women's water polo coach. Ran into her at Camp T. We sat down with Molly Miller before the season ended. Bumped into Coach Miller a few times. Obviously, Gramercy. And again, we are going to have these coaches and players on here. It is Pitchfork Lunch. We are going around Sun Devil Nation, inside Sun Devil Nation. Oh, guys, also, don't forget, we're starting 2 new hashtags. I'll get into it at the top of the show tomorrow as we are going to get on out of here. But yes, you guys have a most phenomenal rest of your Tuesday. Again, I don't know about something always starting on Mondays, but anyway, have a phenomenal rest of your Tuesday. Episode 1 of season 3 in the books. Anything you want, hit me up at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter, my IG, Michael.Caratino.5. You can see the show there. And yes, I'll have more details for you tomorrow, but we're working on, obviously, the Castle Sports Radio Network. Great fans there. KSRN, www.ksrnaz.com. And that's where you'll be able to go to see it. But you can check out the Castle Sports Radio Network at ksrnaz.com and go from there. But I'll have more on that tomorrow, as, again, working towards it. And boom, show 1 here. So it's in the books, man. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Again, a huge ups. Again, how to spotlight him, how to have him solo, because he is a big deal. Doug Tammaro. Again, forks up to you, Mr. Tammaro, for coming on. I greatly appreciate it, being a Cronkite alum, grad and alum, or ASU grad, Cronkite alum, all that good stuff. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Doug Tammaro. Phenomenal. You guys can check it out. If you missed it again, you'll be able to see it up on the IG and the X and all that good stuff. So, and my YouTube channel. Guys, I almost forgot. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. All you have to do is go to YouTube. You know how to get there. But it's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Champ 005, at MVC005 on YouTube. And guys, subscribe. You're going to want to get on it right away because you can see all the stuff coming up. And also, my friends, any shows that you may have missed. Season 1, season 2. I told a lot of people that were watching season 2 last year, you can go through season 1, binge watch it, go through season 2, binge watch that, and you'll be all caught up for season 3. And we just started season 3. So hopefully you're caught up, but if not, you're getting there. And yeah, other Sun Devil alum, hit me up, man. Let me know what you got going on. You can always hit me up in the comments and all that good stuff. So yeah, that being said, have a phenomenal rest of your Tuesday. Thank you again, Doug Tammaro, the again, just all-world associate AD of media relations. A man that's been in sports information forever, and again, just always doing a phenomenal job. So thank you, Doug Tammaro, and those of you that again get to sit down with them, talk with them, all that good stuff. You know how lucky you are. So anyway, I will see you tomorrow. Have same bat time, same bat channel. Have a phenomenal rest of your Tuesday. And you guys know it's #OurState because of, yes, the reigning Big 12 volleyball champs, the women's volleyball reminded me last year. It is #OurState. And as you guys know, as always, forks up.
I went to Arizona State. Right. I'm a Sun Devil, man.
The 27-yard line. That's a great call. Play fake. Plummer will put it up. Throws over the middle. Touchdown! Quick flag.
3rd down and 5. 11 swings it to Scadaboo. Scadaboo breaks defenders. Here he goes again. Another Scadaboo is the running back, and he is immediately met in the backfield, runs through the contact, and then throws a shoulder for good measure. On this defense here. That is true. High in the air. Right center field. Brandon Compton. Welcome to 2025. Today. Just run the other way. Still going back. That's the drag. Walks up and down.
Edwards pulls off and buries it. Richardson drives out for Robbie Ryan. Hurt 3 right on the money. Takes his shot for Derby. Flag out. Doesn't matter.